Just one of those
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a
that the
spin.
live
There
button
we
doesn't
go. It actually happened. Yeah, we've been sitting here for 2 minutes staring at the little pinwheel going around and around and around like this. Hey, how you doing? He's Rob Hunter. I'm Mike Russell. This is Russell and Hunter. Thanks for hanging out with us. And I think there was let's see, one just very, very powerful nation that said, give them sport and they will never revolt. Yes. Then that empire went down right before the empire went down. This is Olympics time. And I don't even know if Rob is watching any of the Olympics. I didn't know it was going on. I spent the weekend at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, so I wasn't really seeing a lot what was happening. Oh yeah, buddy. We're doing some river rafting down there. And so I didn't really get to see. I came back home to the controversy that was the opening ceremonies. And if you missed any of the opening ceremonies, the reason why I didn't even care about the opening ceremonies, I mean, the kids were excited about seeing it, and whatever restaurant we were at after the rafting, and they wanted to see the opening ceremonies. And I was like, I heard LeBron is the flag bearer. So no, I'm good. Count me out. I think the guy is scum. I don't like him. And I think that he doesn't represent the United States. So here it is. The controversy of the opening ceremonies brought to you by the Frenchies. Yes, the Last Supper drag queen style. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not going to make you watch the entire thing, but this is the Last Supper with drag queens. No even subtitles on this stuff. I can't even hack it. Whatever. It's whoa, hey, where'd you go, Rob? There you are. Sorry, buddy. The drag queen Last Supper. I get you want some shock and awe, you want some people talking about the opening ceremonies, but why don't you do it with like an archer lighting the cauldron? Or why don't you do the giant 10,000 little tiny drones in the first drone show we got to see? Why don't you actually impress the world and not make the world roll their eyes in the second largest religion of the world, and you just basically make a mockery of it? It's insulting.
I actually read that it wasn't even about the Last Supper, some other supper from ancient Greece. So I don't know.
Okay.
But the thing
somebody
is,
had to have caught it when they were developing, going, this looks familiar. I've seen this somewhere. I'm
just saying this is how I approached it. I just didn't care. I watched part of it. I didn't let it bother me because I just didn't care that much. So I get the outrage. I get all that, but I don't know. It just...
I don't know about outrage. I don't know about outrage. There was no, I was like, kids, get your torches and pitchforks. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, it was in bad taste. I wasn't outraged by it. It was just in poor taste. And I actually go to Jillian Michaels on this one. Jillian Michaels, the super fit one, the fitness little guru.
She was on one of the weight loss shows.
Oh yeah, The Biggest Loser. Yeah, she was The Biggest Loser. And a lesbian. Her and her wife live in Los Angeles, but moved out of Los Angeles to Texas because of things like this. Here's what she posted. She said, "Dear fellow gays." Now, when you say "dear fellow gays," that's like your mom saying all three of your names at one time. Just Michael Raymond Russell. You're like, well, why you got to call me by my government name? What did I do?
Exactly.
What the hell did I do? I'm in trouble. So she said, "Dear fellow gays, we demand tolerance and respect, but then make a mockery of something sacred for over 2 billion Christians. This type of hypocrisy and lack of understanding is a bad look. We get outraged when the extreme right bashes us, but then we do this shit. What kind of reaction do you think they'll have towards LGBTQ plus community after this? This is not how we break down barriers. It's how we build them." Here. Well said. And then she's right, because there are people that are like, oh, okay, now you're just going to rub our noses in. Okay. And by the way, I like that she said we're not fighting for equal rights because the gay community has equal rights. But she said we're not breaking down barriers. Now we're building them up. And I think that was just really well stated.
And I think that if you look at history, that's kind of the way that things happen, that there's always this sort of resistance to culture, because you can't look at religion and say religion's been awesome. They're
batting 1,000. Yeah.
It's not batting 1,000, right? So, but there's certain symbolism to religion that is supposed to mean something big and significant to the followers of that religion. So I'm all about this. But here's what I really like. You're getting to see this. They're not hiding it. So now you have the opportunity to offer an alternative point of view that this idea of restraint, Mike, keeps coming up to me. Not saying all the things that come into my head.
Head thoughts.
Yes, head thoughts. As we've talked about here on Russell and Hunter's The Broom. So this is how I look at these things. I'm like, okay, good. You're exposing yourself. So there is a video. I should have pulled it. I didn't, because it is also interesting. Kamala Harris is running for president, obviously, and she's got this big organization going down. And there's now white women for Kamala who are telling that you need to listen and you need to shut up and you need to just do this thing. It's this person on TikTok has 1.3 million followers, and her content basically talks to MAGA folks.
Oh,
as if you're a kindergartner.
Like the one where she's talking to her uncle or something, like parenting like uncle thing. I did see that.
I love this because the more we see this, the more we realize what I think the real struggle is. And it does kind of evolve around the Olympics and patriotism and what we think of this country and what France thinks of the world and what France thinks of, or at least the performers think of Christianity, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But it's all there for you to see. Would you rather see it, or would you rather it be hidden that they're talking about you behind your back? Now you can see it. Now you can use your platforms to influence people that is not appropriate.
Yeah, and I think the response by Jillian Michaels is actually appropriate. I think it's very well said. It was thought out, and it was just, hey, guys, are you bleeping kidding me? Come on, we're better than this. This is a bad look. She said very clearly, this is a bad look, and I think a lot of things is just it's better spoken than hollered, right? So if you're, oh my God, they did what to the Last Supper? Really, Christ? And well, no, just hey guys, y'all look like a bunch of idiots, and I hope you know that. You're like a bunch of morons out there. And I think it's good because I think it lightens up or tears down a little bit of the wall. Because I want to be able to call these people idiots and not be, you're transphobe. No, I'm not. These people are just idiots. These people are doing something stupid. They're seriously mocking 2 billion of the 8 billion we have on this planet. They're taking 25% of this world and saying, screw you. And so you look like idiots. And I can say that without being, I think to every common sense person, these people are idiots. So good. I like this.
But I like this too, because I often think about, like when I get triggered is a fancy word for offended, basically. Offended basically means your emotions got in a tuffle because you felt something that somebody said about your beliefs. That is also an opportunity for you to go, why did I feel triggered by that? And you can explore that so that next time you don't get triggered. You can just look at this event in the opening Olympics and that whatever it was.
Yeah, the drag supper. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, if that's France's thing, cool. That's France's thing.
It's definitely France's thing.
Your thing. It doesn't have to be a moral affront. It just is a thing. It's just like, okay. So, again, I always think about influence, and the best way to influence people is sometimes just to shut up. Because sometimes when people see things like this, they don't need to be influenced. They don't need to be told that it's wrong or immoral or an affront to you. It's just, okay, that's where you're coming from. Got it. What can I do to sell my beliefs in a different way so that people adopt them and say, yeah, you know what? It is a good idea to have some sort of moral centerpiece that you believe in. It makes you a better person.
I mean, moral centerpiece is just I don't even care if I have the microphone or the platform to change people in that way. I don't care. I'm not going to change any of the people that were, laying down for the drag supper. I'm not going to reach those people anyway. So I guess the best is to, if you're part of that community, which is the alphabet spectrum, if you're part of the alphabet spectrum, like Jillian Michaels, speak up. Say, okay, y'all, this is our team. Y'all being stupid right now. Outside of that, this whole Last Supper thing, drag Last Supper deal, was your dog when you get home or your dog when guests come over. Because your dog, when guests come over, what do you tell your guests? Just ignore him. Just ignore him. Just ignore him, and he's going to go away. Don't worry about it. And you do, and the dog goes away. Okay, the dog doesn't get attention. The dog goes away. These people are attention seekers. They're attention whores. This is what they want, and they want outrage, and they want, oh, that's right, and they want to rip the far right for being offended by this, or just any Christian to be offended by this, and then they get what they want. Instead, like Rob said, just shut up.
Well, and it's just working on your own triggers and wondering why they're there. And instead of saying, I'm right, you're wrong, the hell with you. No, the hell with you. And then it just becomes a shouting match, which doesn't get you anywhere except for points on social media. And if that's what we're after, cool. Let's just admit all we want to be is social media influencers and get likes, shares, retweets, or re-X's or whatever they're called now. Yeah. But we have to understand the role I think that social media plays on our society, because, there's all kinds of been art over the years that has, done ridiculous things to Jesus and the cross, and sure, it comes by and it flies by night and it goes away. Right. But now there's so many different, easier ways to get attention, and easiest way to get that is to be controversial, to back to your point, Mike. And I think that is part of the thing we have to unplug from in order to move past it, is say, you know what? There's a lot of crazy things in the world that I don't agree with. There's a lot of crazy ideologies in the world that I don't agree with, but they're still real, whether I believe in them or not. So not giving them attention, which is like the biggest, craziest ask of all time, is part of the challenge. And I think that is a huge hurdle, is how do we stop paying attention to it? Because if you notice something, what's completely out of the news cycle? Trump almost getting his head blown off. It's as if it never happened. We've got like a week news cycle for an assassination attempt, and then we move on to the next thing. So
the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, Kamala. Oh, we're outraged about that because it was a coup by the Democrats. By the way, I just point this out. Robert Kennedy is on the ballot. He hasn't gotten any primary votes either. So just pointing that out there.
He doesn't have a chance in hell. Kamala does.
No. Exactly.
So, well, that's the thing. Like, I love it. I want a shirt that says I won as many primaries as Kamala. I would love that. I think it's a funny point. It's a hilarious point, because she was planted exactly where she was supposed to be.
Well, and that's, again, that was the controversy last week, and now we're on to the Olympic controversy. So the question is going to be, as we move through this week, what are we going to be ticked off about? And again, to use this, hold on, I got to pull this quote up.
It'll be Kamala. Kamala will not be able to get out. You think Trump can't get out of his own way? Kamala's not going to be able to get out of her own way. There's no way that ego is going to let them do to her what they did to Biden and just say, shut up and read your teleprompter.
This is the perfect scenario for Kamala. If it was an 8-month campaign, I would agree. For 3 months or 98 days or 97 days or whatever left. Yeah, that's it. It's basically like, can she do it? I don't know. But, well, like you said, there is definitely coverage, and there's definitely momentum has shifted in the campaign. Trump's got to figure out how to seize that back strategically.
Yeah, well, I would say, okay, so the whole momentum, I think, all they're talking about is fundraising. That's it. Literally, that's it. Fundraising, and the fundraising is shenanigans. It's all a bunch of it's money laundering is all it is. They signed over the account to Kamala. They took Biden's account and sent it to Kamala. The very next day, y'all. Again, I need to point this out. They were the stupid. I have COVID, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this over speakerphone to my campaign headquarters. Campaign headquarters literally changed logos overnight. So yeah, the whole like, oh, look at all the momentum behind Kamala. No, this was all the books were already moved over to Kamala, and this is the fundraising in 100 million in 24 hours wasn't raising 100 whatever the hell 100 million in 24 hours wasn't that at all by any stretch. And again, I know what's his name? Some O'Keefe. What's his name?
James O'Keefe.
Yeah, James O'Keefe. Don't like him, but I mean, dude, when you knock on somebody's door and they're like, yeah, I didn't donate 10,000 times in 2 years. I just didn't. We know it's all funny math. Rob, pop that up. What do you got, bud?
Yeah. So this is, and again, this is part of it, right? We put this up on Friday, Mike, and we've said this before, but basically the point of this quote is, these outrages that constantly happen distract us from what you just talked about, Mike, from having intelligent conversations about the state of our politics. Because, again, the big number to me is Trump's disapproval rating. It's 36% in the poll I saw this morning is approval rating, 36%. It's hard to win like that. So strategically, I don't know what's going on here. I get what the Democrats are doing. I get that they have a coordinated effort. And a lot of it is designed to do this, is designed to distract enough people in this country so that they don't have these conversations. Like this Big Brother thing that we thought 1984 was going to be all about. They're doing it, right? They're changing language, which we talked about last week. They're altering things, history that you can't Google search as, Rhonda put this here, right?
You can't.
So I'll remove this quote. So I get all of this, but what's the bigger picture to me, Mike? And that's what I'm trying to get a grasp on is, okay, if the bigger picture that's playing out here is as nefarious as we might think, the strategy has to be then bigger than the outrage, because the outrage is already happening and they're distracting people. So how do you, in a sense, restore this country's values in this country in a social media time where millions of people are programmed to be pissed off every day?
Well, I understand the whole pissed off thing. I get it. And I think, again, and I'm an apologist. I believe we the people get this. We see it. We understand what's going on. Kamala, literally, you talk about disapproval rating, bro, come on. Kamala was the most solid disapproved VP in modern times since they started tracking this nonsense. And overnight, she is the golden child. We see that. We understand that. We get that. We know what's going on. I think I really, in my heart of hearts, there is as much momentum behind her. I actually don't think there's as much momentum behind her as even Hillary had, because Hillary was actually had a following. Hillary had a decades-long following. Kamala does not. Kamala is not even inspiring as much as Hillary was. And I think we the people see that. And I understand that. I mean, we go to Rhonda's point here. You can't even, I think, what did I see today was somebody put in President Donald, and the only options came President Donald Duck or President something else. It was just something spelled wrong or something like that. And so I don't see that we the people are being fooled by this in any way, shape, fashion, or form. It's all smoke and mirrors. I cannot see a upswelling of support for somebody as unlikable as Kamala Harris.
Maybe, but like I said, so there's a big difference between us. We're all here. We pay attention to politics. Mike, you and I have been doing this in this game for a long time. But there's millions of people who don't. Millions of people who didn't even know who the vice president was. Millions of people who just found out the name Kamala Harris, and there is enthusiasm behind it. So all I'm saying is that I go back to this point. This election is going to be close. It's going to be determined by which team has the better ground game, which team has the better get out the vote apparatus, because that is going to be huge. Because, the Democrats don't play when it comes to that. Democrats are a machine. They have a massive organization. They have already supposedly 170,000 volunteers to help Kamala Harris win. It's not something to brush aside. It's not something to paint over. It's an understanding that in order for Trump to win, he's got to out strategize, right? He's going to have to get people out. He's going to have to try to get buses filled with people to go take them to the polls the way that the Democrats do. That is, to me, is how this election is going to play out. Remember, the last two presidential election cycles were determined by less than 100,000 votes when you look at the Electoral College. So this is a country that's like this. And it could go either way. It's going to be depending on who nails the next couple of months with their organizations.
Let's get on brass tacks then. Let's get down. Now we know the players. Let's get down to it. Ready to bet? Because I'm ready to bet. I'm ready to go. Okay, I go Trump wins. Trump wins hands down. That's okay. So we can go multiple bets if we want. We can do an over under. You guys help us out here. How should we play this? Because I'm conductor of the Trump train at this point. So let's man, I just went look at dude. I just rolled through Route 66 on the way to Grand Canyon. So we stayed between Peach Springs and Seligman, And it's just, I mean, dude, just Trump.
Oh, yeah. I went to Oatman. It was the same thing. Oatman is kind of on the route. It's like a small mining town. And that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. It's going. I don't see a lot of Kamala. I don't see a lot of Kamala flags. So let's do this. Let's go with the straight up and down vote. Play golf with no way in the world. So let's do this. So Robbie, are you saying Trump loses or Trump wins? I'm saying Trump wins. Do you want to do an up and down on it?
Well, I'm going to reserve the right to change my mind because I think right now, again, because everything changes every week. Right now, if the vote were today, I would say that Kamala would win. I don't know that will hold up all the way till November or October when we really start getting mail-in ballots. So as of now, I will take your bet. But
you can't say I'm not going to bet later on when the polls change, dude. We got to say it now.
Again, this isn't based on, this is me 25 years of coverage.
I understand.
Understanding polls and how they work and how they don't work and I'm
not worried about that, Robbie. I'm saying, do you want to bet? Do you want to bet? Let's bet. If you don't want to bet, we'll bet. Just say you don't want to bet.
I will bet that Kamala will win.
Okay, dude. Okay, losers got to wear the other shirt. We got to buy a campaign shirt and wear it. I like Brendan's idea there. No.
I'm not wearing either one of those campaign shirts. That is not. I will not take the bet.
Okay. Then what's the bet?
It's a good question. Let's make it. I think the loser does have to do something.
I like Brendan said Rob's hedging bet like the DNC primary. I can at the very end change my vote. No, come on.
Well, no, right? I mean, I'm just saying, if like I say, that things will change in the next month.
I understand that.
Coming out, there's a DNC conference coming out.
And it might all go Kamala's way. Fine, cool. So then you win. So we have to bet. What's the bet? Let's go bigger in our standard 4-pack nonsense. Let's go. Come on, let's go a little bigger than that.
Okay, let's do the campaign shirts.
Okay, campaign shirts.
Money in either campaign to buy the shirt. I'll have to do it on a black market somewhere so that the money doesn't go to either the RNC or the DNC.
Well, then that's what you do. You go on Amazon or whatever and look for an independent small business, whatever little icon that they got there, and you can do it there. Okay.
All right. How about this too? If Trump wins, you get to pick the shirt or the hat. It's one or the other, and then I get to pick it if it's Kamala.
Okay.
Why not? What the hell?
Okay. There we go. Yeah. And unlike our normal shows, where we made these bets, unlike our normal shows, these are stuck on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. They stay. Mm-hmm. So there we go. All right,
it's on, baby.
Okay, and then I'll do this.
But after it's like I don't want to root for either side, but I don't want to wear either shirt. So.
No, I'm not rooting for a side. I know one side's going to win. So I'm literally all of this nonsense with Kamala is smoke and mirrors. It is just smoke and mirrors. There's no ground swelling of support for a woman so unlikable and just in that nobody knows squat about. So it's just not that. But here's the deal. If you want to after the debate, we can do an over under on electoral votes. We'll do that.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be.
I love it. We'll just add to the bet.
Because I think it's going to be big.
Yeah. How about after the debate, we will definitely do the electoral college.
There you go.
And that'll be right around vote time because I think that's kind of end of September, if I'm not mistaken. Mid-September is going to be the one debate that we're going to get between these two.
I'm going to debate him like the prosecutor I am.
Yep.
Can't wait. Can't wait. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I go back with Bill Maher. Bill Maher said, he goes, the one thing about, I gave into that. They going back to it, what he said, he goes, the thing is that like he did with Biden, he's like, Biden's at a disadvantage right away because Trump's funny. Trump is an entertainer. Trump is going to look for that one bite that he's going to get, and he got it. Like he just served it up to him when he said, I don't understand the second half of what he said. I don't even think he understands that. He's an entertainer and he's funny. Kamala isn't. Kamala's horrible. So it's going to be an interesting debate. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch. California is getting what California gets. Rob was talking about the minimum wage, the $20 minimum wage for fast food workers, and it's what kind of impact is that on?
Well, small businesses that are fast food restaurants, especially the independent ones, are closing. They're firing people. They're not giving people the amount of hours they had prior to the $20 minimum wage. Because, and this is where I really agree with you. And this is This is where I think the ground cell is, Mike. This policy obviously is in a ridiculous economic policy. You can't just force a fast food company to update their wage to $20 an hour. I wish that it was awesome that everybody made $1 million a year. But if everybody made $1 million a year, it'd be worthless. Every house would be $5 million.
Amen. Right.
That's just the way money works. And fast food is not a job designed to have a massive economic output. It just isn't. But now it is because you have to pay $20 an hour. But see, this is where the groundswell, I think, is, Mike. There is a bunch of people in this country who want to feel good versus have good prosperity inducing economic policies. For example, if I were Donald Trump, I would solely run on the 2017 tax cut and say it was the greatest thing that has ever happened to the United States economy because we reformed the tax code so that businesses could grow. That's what I would run. Because this policy is what the Democrats want. They want to force wages, but labor is the biggest expense in just about any business. And businesses are always looking to cut back on labor. And if you make them pay like $5 an hour more per person per hour, they're going to figure it out by raising prices, cutting hours, kicking people out. And that's exactly what's happening because these things have consequences. But the feel good part, Mike, think about the politicians and the voters. So the liberal woman, the teacher that we were talking about before, the kindergarten teacher, this is a perfect example. She is willing to cede all of her sovereignty to someone else because she feels it makes herself look good, particularly BIPOC women, as she says, people of color, right? So for this BIPOC loving, which is fine, but if you're willing to feel good versus actually get results, you love this policy. You love that Gavin Newsom in California and the Democrat lawmakers there force fast food companies to spend $20 an hour per employee because it makes you feel good. Like we are winning the game against the rigged system of capitalism.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you don't pay attention to the actual results and you probably don't eat fast food that much. So this is completely outside of your realm, but you're waving it around like a flag.
It reminds me of the UPS's brilliant move, the union UPS. This was an absolute brilliant move. When Secretary Mayor Pete, as feckless and useless as that little punk is, he has because he knows crime's down because he can now safely walk his dog to the Capitol. He couldn't do that under the previous administration, couldn't because crime was too much. He had his back up against the wall with this whole supply chain deal, and things were going horrible for the Biden administration. Inflation was just jumping through the roof, and so the union for UPS said, "Oh, all we have to do is threaten. That's all we have to do is threaten to strike." And these guys are screwed. UPS shuts down for a day. You want to see a supply chain problem? Shut UPS down for a day. So the administration jumps in, gets involved, goes to the table, and allows UPS or forces UPS to now pay their drivers over $100,000 a piece. $100,000. What happened shortly after that made zero headlines? 12,000 UPS employees were laid off. 12,000. This is basic economics. Is what this is. So McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out, Del Taco, all these places have to raise their prices now, and just to stay up the game. I mean, forget about just laying off 1-2 employees. That's not going to do enough. You still have to run a business. You still have to have employees there, or you just don't run a business. You can't run. These people can't work 120 hours a week. So you got to make sure that you at least have staff, but you're paying them $20 an hour. Nobody's getting a raise. Nobody's getting a promotion, but everybody makes $20 an hour. And now your now your dollar menu starts at $4.
Yep.
You have to. And who does that impact? Everyone else.
I can't go to Taco Bell now. It's $16 just for me. I got 4 tacos and 1 Crunchwrap Supreme. I didn't even get a drink, Mike. I know I keep talking about this, but that's the impact of that. And the impacts of that downstream are businesses end up closing, or they don't do as much business because every time the price goes up, you get less people buying it. It's just one of those things. So this is how I'd run the campaign if I were Trump. I would use that story everywhere around the country, even to Grizz's point. I would take this comment right here that Seattle did the same thing.
Yeah.
His brother cheered until he lost his job, which is exactly right. Be careful what you wish for.
Sure.
It's absolutely bonkers.
But it goes back to the Democrats being what do you mean? Where we been? But Sterling, we're right here, pal.
It's a comment on Twitter, though, which I didn't even know we could have. But Sterling, we see you. So if you haven't caught up, we walked away from the radio station to do it this way. So thank you, Sterling, for being here.
Appreciate you being here, buddy. Appreciate everybody being here. You guys are the best. And but yes, so Sterling, we do this every day at noon. So there we go, Monday through Friday at noon. And but getting back to the basic economics of this, it is one of two things, or maybe a little bit of column A, column B. The Democrats in the Democrat Party, they're the ones that are saying we need $20 minimum wage because they bank on the masses being stupid. Democrats think we the people are the dumbest flock of sheep ever, and they keep getting away with it. So they might be onto something, at least on that side of the voting aisle. Or second is that we've stripped our public education so much that we don't understand as a we the people basic economics. Because
Correct.
it's an easy no-brainer that, okay, if we have to pay everybody more, we have to charge more, or we're going to lay people off. It's those greedy business owners that they want to have a profit. Oh, please. Did you hear it costs nothing to open a Chick-fil-A? The Lord's Chicken?
Cost nothing?
You know? Nothing. Or like maybe it's like 10 grand or something, just like nothing.
You mean like a low buy-in on the franchise fee?
Like zero, almost zero. Yeah. But here's the deal though. But here's the deal. They take 50%.
Yeah, there you go.
Standard franchise fee, like franchise fee is like 7% or 8%. I'm sure it's a little more than that now. But like 7 or 8% of every dollar you make goes to McDonald's because, again, this goes to the stupidity. Remember this? McDonald's needs a livable wage. McDonald's, like, it's not McDonald's corporate you're going after. You're going after somebody who's just put their entire life into owning 1 or 2 McDonald's. That's who you're going after when you're talking about these pay increases. But 50% for Chick-fil-A, it's around half. But they're like, we're gonna get you up and running. You're gonna make money. Don't worry about it. We're gonna make money. You don't have to leverage your kids' college.
Makes $5 million, I think, a year, and they're closed on Sundays. The average McDonald's is 2.
Mm-hmm.
So just to put that in perspective, Chick-fil-A knows what they're doing.
It's the Lord's chicken.
Yep. They've got crowd control under control too. So when they came to the COVID vaccines, who did they call? Like, I think it was in Atlanta. They had it at the stadium there. They're like, we need to call the Chick-fil-A people because they know how to do driving.
Move it. Let's go. Keep them moving in and out. And it's the same as you remember one of the greatest movies of all time, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Mm-hmm.
When he was asked his dad, how can you not like the Colonel? It's because he puts an addictive chemical in his chicken that makes me crave it fortnightly, smart ass. Yes, the same thing with they've got to put something in that chicken, man. They got to put something in that chicken.
I hear it's pickle brine is how they.
It is not. That is actually I did because I want to make it at home.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't paying $15 for a sandwich, so I'm like I tried it. Wasn't a pickle brine, but pickle brine for pork and chicken is absolutely fantastic. Off the rails, good.
Always a win.
It really is.
But I want to go back to this information because this is what we talk about a lot. Is information is power. Information is key. If you're looking at intelligence and we talk about intelligence, all intelligence is information. CIA, DIA, NSA, all these things. Trying to find the big information about the big plot, the terrorism plot. They want to know what our adversaries are doing in the world, what decisions they're making. It's all information. Information is kept close to those in power because you're less empowered if you have all the information. So it is very true that there's a lot of people who benefit from having a dumb populace. Yeah. And I don't mean dumb in a bad way. I just meant
uneducated.
You're not given the appropriate information to realize the $20 an hour story doesn't hold up because there's still math involved. And you still have to make money for a purchase and get a value in return. And if the price goes too high, it's not valuable anymore because the labor costs go too high. There's less labor. It's just how everything works. And to not know that is pretty egregious that you can't pick that up anywhere in the minimum of your 12 years of public education schooling, or maybe the 4 years of college education that you went on after. And you still sit there and you cheer this policy, even though, as Rhonda pointed out here, that as soon as you hear the policy and the plan, you know it's not going to work. If you have a brain, or it's not even that if you don't have a brain, if you've been educated enough to know how money works, even just a little bit.
Well, again, we went from number 1 in the world in education. Then we opened up the Department of Education, Federal Department of Education, went to 24th. Then we just you're gonna let government teach
mediocre.
Yeah. Well, and also government will never teach you enough to overthrow them. So that is just keep them uneducated, just keep them wanting more from us, cradle to grave kind of thing. And that's basically the way it is. Speaking of government being government, the Washington Examiner, God bless you for doing what you're doing, because the Washington Examiner actually started scratching their head, like all of us are, because we see this. I mean, the damn center caps were stolen off of my freaking truck. Like, who steals the center caps? So they're all gone. I haven't even replaced them. I'm not going to worry about it because they're going to get stolen again. So I'm going to forget about this noise. But how is the Biden and Harris, whatever administration we're calling it now, how can they say crime's down? You know, Jen Kondasaki on there squawking all about, crime down, crime up is a myth. Crime up is a myth. Washington Examiner dug into this and found out what was going on and how they could possibly say and convince themselves that they're true, or actually show stats. Well, they're using the FBI. The FBI is cooking the books for the Bidens, or cooking the books for whoever the hell they think that's going to help them with crime is down. Crime is not down by any stretch of the imagination. Come to find out that the only half of the nation reports their crime stats to the FBI. Only half the nation. The other half, the FBI gets to estimate or make up the numbers themselves, therefore making it look like crime is down. Minneapolis was one of the examples that I saw. They claimed that the murder rate is down 13%. That's what the FBI says. The police say it's up 7%. That's a hell of a swing. Got a 20-point swing there, because the FBI is like, no, it's got to be down like 13%. Nope, it's up 7%. But if you go by the FBI stats, then hey, you got yourself a hell of a campaign message there.
Anytime you have numbers, they're subject to be manipulated. The unemployment number is a perfect example, or additional example. So I don't know what the current unemployment rate is. Let's call it 3.9%. But it's not an accurate number. Unemployment measures the number of people actively seeking work who cannot find it at the current time. And there's some other measurement in there too, if I remember correctly. But what it doesn't measure, that 3.9% number, is underemployment, or the number of people that have 2 jobs, or the other various factors that impact our work.
Well, the people not looking for a job.
Yes, that whole part too. And we've talked before that there's a pretty significant number of young men who just aren't even bothering to look in the workforce. They've just disappeared, essentially, lost in video game land or something. Yeah. And that's really strange. So you can manipulate and massage numbers however you want. And crime is one of the things that America looks at when we vote and say, crime's not doing well, let's change it up a little bit. But see, New York City used to do the same thing, still does the same thing, because they were one of the premier institutions in law enforcement that really started diving into crime stats under Giuliani. And it just so happens, a friend of the program, New York Rob, he used to work in crime stats and talks about how they were all manipulated. So oftentimes they would take, say, I don't remember which one's worth, a burglary or a robbery. I think a burglary is with a firearm or with a weapon. Okay. So they would take a burglary, like, are you sure you saw a weapon? Are you really sure? And they would convince the witness that the witness should doubt themselves, and they would downgrade the charge. They did it with rapes. They did it with all kinds of things to make sure that the stats weren't reported the way that Mike's talking about, right? That there's an air of mystery, because, again, who controls it? The police department. Who gets held accountable if the crime stats aren't where the city wants them to be? The politicians. The police department does.
Yeah, right.
So of course they're going to manipulate the numbers. It's like test scores in schools.
Yeah, or you just, like you said, just kind of redefine what this is. You can redefine what a crime is. Like we redefine what a vaccine was. You're just going to change the definition of what a crime was. Mass shooting. Remember, mass shooting went down to 4 people injured, or 2 people injured. Now that's massive. So they can up those stats and make everybody afraid of long guns. So that is, it's kind of just that shrug your shoulders. Yeah, but we knew the FBI was lying to us, but we see this with our own eyes. I mean, we see crime. We see in the fact that Secretary says that he can now safely walk his dog in the Capitol. No, he can't. It's a cesspool. Rob and I were there. And I was like, hey, you robbing test? I was almost running out of there myself. I was like, I don't care if I got a plane. I'm getting out of here. I don't even want to be in this city anymore. It's disgusting.
That is true. We actually caught an earlier flight home.
We did.
I wanted to leave.
Yes. Wait, what's that endorse? Oh, geez, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a number, and this is why I think the momentum is there. At least the news momentum, whether or not it's real, to your point, Mike, is different. But this is something that actually helped Katie Hobbs win. Remember, because there was a former colleague of ours and a bunch of other Republicans who came out and had a press conference over at it's right in Paradise Valley.
Oh, yeah.
Corner right near the Monte Lucia Hotel.
Yeah.
They had a press conference there. It's like Barry Goldwater Park or something. And they all came out as Republicans voting for Katie Hobbs. And it was in part because Kari Lake told McCain voters to F off.
Yep.
Like, that's just dumb. And that, to go back to this point, right? You're seeing that Bisbee, Nogales, Somerton, San Luis endorsing this. There's definitely something there, but it shows to me how upside down the whole world is.
Not even upside down. Not even close to upside down. Not even close up. This is very easy to see. This isn't those mayors all collectively go, hey guys, their Sunday mayoral barbecue that they like to have, once a month, hang out together and say, hey, why don't we go out and endorse Kamala Harris tomorrow? Let's just go make this happen. No. See, their party tapped them on the shoulder and said, if you don't want to be primaried, if you like being mayor, and if you want to have any kind of future in our party, you're going to make this announcement. Okay. And they did. That's what it is. It literally is it. Or if you want to come over to the other side, whatever it is, there's gamesmanship here. There's not I need to endorse Kamala Harris as our president. Those mayors, come on. They have been absolutely destroyed by this administration. So it's just shady. It is what it is. It's ugly politics is what it is.
Well, and the good news is they don't have a big influence. I mean, no one, endorsements never do. I don't know why so many people think I am voting. I don't care. Good for you. Like all these prominent celebrities and politicians, like, I don't care who you're voting for. I'm voting for who I'm voting for. And they're not going to be influenced by you. But that does get back to this part that life is really what I think about life right now, Mike. It's a collection of skills to help you navigate bigger things in life. So, for example, let's go back to job. What was your first job, Mike?
Oh, shoe store.
Shoe store, baby.
Yeah.
What did you learn in that shoe store that you can apply now? Because, your first job you get, mine was bagging groceries at the grocery store. Then I became a cashier and worked in the grocery store for 5 years. But I learned some skills in there that I could apply to my radio career, that I could apply to my life. How to talk to people.
What do you mean, what did I learn? What did we learn at a shoe store? What do you learn at a shoe store?
But you learn how to be an employee. You learn how to work for a company. You learn what expectations are. You learn how to meet those expectations. You learn how to problem solve with customers who are not always nice.
we were the only spot. I knew somebody was going to come with the Bundy jokes, and it had to have been Grizz. So that's the thing to me is that we were the, oh my gosh, I was very Bundy in a lot of ways, because we were the only place it was in Seal Beach, California. We're the only place in the area in Orange County that sold Clark sandals. And you understand, Clark sandals are for older people. They aren't the young crowd. And there was this big retirement community up the road called Leisure World, right? We called it we called it Seizure World. But okay, so the Seizure World bus, they would come pick them all up. All these old ladies, they'd pick them up in Leisure World, and there was a bus stop right outside of the shore shop where I worked. And and we'd see that bus come, and we'd be like, oh no. And they'd all just shuffle off that bus, and we just go, oh my gosh, I'm going on my lunch because I'm not putting sandals on old ladies' feet. It's just not all, but I mean, come on, don't mind my bunions.
So Mike, shoe business,
the things that you can't unsee.
That's true.
And smell. is awful.
Don't bring your
Awful.
smelly feet. Don't bring your smelly feet.
No.
Mm-mm.
And Rob knows. That's why I kind of have a foot thing. Like I like very attractive feet. That's good. That's a good thing. It's a good thing in my book.
Agree.
Yes. Don't make fun. I'm not making fun of old ladies. I was just calling balls. I'm calling balls and strikes here. I'm just saying that's what at 18 years old. Those are formative years, man. That's
true. That is true. Yeah. But it's taking those forward. So go back to this fast food job. We have this idea that a fast food job is for someone who is 50 years old and that's the career. No. Working at a fast food joint, there are career paths that pay very well in that industry, but you have to learn those skills. You have to learn how to become a manager. You got to learn how to do the fry station. You got to learn how to take the orders. You got to learn how to cook the burgers. And you can take those skills and parlay them into something, especially if you have a degree. That's how it works. I don't know why all these politicians want people to skip that, because it's supposed to be an introduction to the world of work when you're a teenager. And occasionally, maybe if you're out of a job, you're 40 years old, you go work at McDonald's. But it's not meant to be you stay as a cashier at McDonald's forever. But now you're ensuring with a $20 an hour wage, you're going to get stuck there forever.
My SoCal peeps are coming out of the woodwork. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Rhonda, what's up? Rhonda actually played Cypress Little League. Oh yeah,
really?
My dad, my stepdad, him and his buddies, they were all friends since they were in Little League themselves, and they grew up in that area back when it was all farmland, and they called it Shit Acres. They called the whole group. That's what they called their group, the Shit Acres crew. But yeah, so I would have gone to Kennedy High School if I didn't move out here. Yeah, go to Apollo High School. Yeah, went to Cypress. What's up? Yes, and you remember the Shore Shop in Seal Beach right there on PCH and Seal Beach Boulevard. That's right. Anyway, yes, but you know Caesar World. That's right, Stephanie. Caesar World. We're all over the place. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Land, you're from Palm Springs too. That's cool.
Yeah, we passed the test and escaped. That's what we did.
That's good. Good job.
Yeah, we definitely did. What were we talking about? Sorry, I'm back. I can't get the imagery out of my head from those Clark sandals. I just can't. I can't.
All right, let's go to this then.
Thanks. Buddy.
This story to me, mind blowing. Brittany Griner plays for the Phoenix Mercury here in town where Mike and I live, and many of you guys live as well. So Brittany Griner, prior to getting arrested and being sent to a Russian prison, was one of these kneelers for the national anthem. But it's funny what happens when you go to a Russian prison. The national anthem means something a little different to you, as Brittany Griner is suggesting here. The anthem means everything to me, she told the AP in an interview about wearing a USA jersey. For me to now have the honor to wear it again and potentially win gold is icing on the cake for everything. See, this is, I think, highlights, Mike, such a massive problem in America. We have a lack of perspective. We have it so good in this country that we forget the rest of the world sucks compared to us.
Yeah.
Our standard of living, as far as your economic opportunities, as far as you picking your own path. Spending time in a Russian prison will wake you up to that. Now you have something to compare it to if you're Brittany Griner. Instead of just being going back to this information and this brainwashing and all these things, that you're influenced by all these organizations that tell you America sucks. 1619 Project, America sucks. The whole college movement, America sucks. Sure. Mm-hmm. Great. We suck. Let's compare ourselves to every other country on earth in every other point in human history. Because if we suck, everything sucks. And Brittany Griner got an understanding that, maybe America's not perfect. However, I can play basketball here. I can smoke weed here in Arizona. I can go buy all the cartridges of weed that I want. And I don't have to live in a Russian prison. All of a sudden, I like America because now I have something to compare it to. So all these young people in America that are complaining, I would encourage you to go visit Russia. I'd encourage you to go visit Vietnam. Go visit North Korea, Iran. See how free you are, and then come back and tell me how much you don't like this country.
Speaking of things you can't unsee, I showed Rob a video of Brittany Griner in the backyard pool and wearing men's board shorts and nothing else. There's things you can't unsee. There's just things that you can't unsee or hear. But let's talk about the Olympics, which is interesting to me. The Olympics are what they are, and if the Caitlin Clark was not selected to be on the Olympic team, which is the dumbest thing I think I've heard in a hot minute, making this probably the first time I've rooted against a U.S. team. You
rooted against the soccer team a couple of years ago because
because of the Rapinoe thing, but I don't think that was an Olympic thing. I think that was the World Cup.
Oh, there's just World Championships.
Yeah. So I am rooting against the WNBA All Stars out there. Pass and pick away, layup. It's not like I would have watched any of the games anyway. But I hope they lose. I hope they don't even medal. What a bunch of idiots. Just a bunch of bitter idiots. And can I ask a question? Why in the hell? And I just saw this before we came on today, bro. Why in the hell does Ukraine have a Olympic team? Have an Olympic contingency? What in the hell? Thought we were at war. Their little dictator tot. I thought your country was war torn. You guys have nothing going on. Oh, you have an entire Olympic staff? You have coaches and teams and Olympic trials and all that. I thought you were just being crushed by the Russians and you need more $60 billion and another $100 billion here, another $120 billion over here because you just can't fight off those Ruskies. Well, apparently you can. And Ukraine, just for those that don't know, Ukraine are sending their poorest people. It is class. If you are below a certain economic level, you are going to war. And if you die, who cares? Because we're living it up and partying here in Kyiv. And that's what we're going to do. More restaurants and bars open in Kyiv than before the invasion, Russia. It's just such a bad look that these punks have a team. It's a bad look.
Yeah, I think that the real thing about the Ukraine part to me is there just doesn't seem to be an end in sight. It just seems that this, to me, is all about power and killing human beings and letting people go. Yeah, because we talked about this. I mean, I don't think it's a conspiracy to think that basically what America did is canceled the Afghanistan money and moved it to Ukraine.
Amen.
Because the defense industrial complex needs money. They need to make missiles. They need to make ammunition, and they need to get paid for that by your taxpayer dollars. So that's that. When Trump and J.D. Vance, who I don't really particularly like J.D. Vance, but he does have a point. This guy served in Iraq. He served as a Marine. And I've talked to actually Marines recently, one in particular who said, not J.D. Vance, it really started to turn on him when he was guarding a lithium mine. He wasn't out killing the Taliban. He wasn't out hunting for Al-Qaeda. He was protecting a Halliburton mine, lithium, which now China has, by the way, because America left. So we've given all that to China and all the weapons to the Taliban. But all we've done is just take your money you're spending in Afghanistan and to Trump and J.D. Vance is what they talk about. This is just a perpetual cycle that, I don't know, it's like $300 million a month or something. It's a day, or it's crazy the amount of money that you spend on these wars for no reason.
We're not protecting a mine anymore.
No.
We're protecting biolabs. Literal biolabs. I'm not even playing, Rob. I think you were gone. I think you were gone a day that we discussed this, and it was I went through the entire list of all the pharmaceutical labs that are in Kyiv, that's exactly what we're protecting at this point. And I don't even know if we're protecting it. We're just moving money through and funneling. But there's no way Russia's going to get anywhere near Kyiv. Is this? I mean, we're lifting up in basically a war machine, and we don't have ends of wars anymore. That's gone, Rob. When you say that this is going to be just a never-ending thing, we don't end wars anymore.
Exactly.
There's no. Yeah. I mean, it used to be a thing. The president would come on TV, my fellow Americans. Today we blah 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 blah. We bombed Crap-Lakistan or whatever the hell it is. We went after them. We got what do we do? The right thing to do, the moral thing to do, the just thing to do. And now we just start a war and we don't even have here's our goal. This is what we want to do. Here's the end. Nope. It's just let's more money, flag waving, more money, flag waving. But man, I was again I'm not cheering on the WNBA All Stars there in wherever this thing, Paris. I'm looking at these Ukrainians. I saw gymnasts before we came on, and I'm like, fall, yeah, fall. Come on, fall, yeah. But it's funny because now they are just crushing in all of these sports that aren't sports, because if it has a judge, it's not a sport. But all of these judged competitions, Ukraine, let me tell you, they're getting those high points. So stupid. Bring on the track. I want to see that to Sha'Carri Richardson. What's up, girl?
I think that what we talked about on Friday, Mike, was propaganda essentially and how it works. And you get told a certain amount of information that you believe is true, but oftentimes it's that distraction. It's, oh no, wave the flag because you feel good about yourself for supporting a democratic country fighting against the evil Russians. Cool. All I have to do is wave my flag and I support it. But meanwhile, when you look beneath the patriotism in the narrative, you see what Mike was talking about. You see what I was talking about. You see what you guys have probably read here or there, that the challenge is the industrial complex is so interwoven with our economy that if you took all the money out, there might be some drastic consequences for that. Who knows? Are we willing to say, I don't care. Let's deal with the consequences and let the defense industry lay off some people. It's fine.
Well, we're being told, okay, I want to go back to that. We're being told that it's a democracy. Ukraine is not a democracy. It's a corrupt dictatorship, and it has been. It's the most corrupt nation in Europe. It just is, and it always has been. But now we have to say, oh, we're defending democracy. And we're not. The place is a wreck. Always has been. It's the mafia of countries. That's what it is. It's just they steal money.
We've been involved in it. Like the United States government,
not saying we haven't.
In 2014, got rid of the guy that was running it and installed Zelensky, basically. Yeah. So, there's this, again, the power structure in the United States creates more problems than it solves by far, because it doesn't solve problems. It just likes to spread chaos. That's what it is. Because even the argument for funding Ukraine is, well, it's taking out one of our adversaries. Russia's losing troops, tanks, missiles. Great. Were we going to go to war with Russia? Really?
Yeah.
Because is that something I should be concerned about? That, okay, now Russia's weakened. Cool. Okay. Were we expecting missiles to fly across the world and blow each other up? What are we measuring it against?
Obama and Trump both said, dude, they're like, Russia's not a problem. Russia's just doing Russia right now. They're not a big deal at all to us. And it's the truth. It's still to this day. And that's why Trump's very confident in saying that. Trump's like, this will end quickly. This will end quickly. When we get this, when I get in office, I will end this. Just watch. It's going to happen. I believe him when he says it too. Why? Because he's been there. It's kind of weird that we've got this is a weird election. I mean, we actually have one that can run on a record of being president. Like, I know how. I've been there. I lived in that house over there. I lived down the road. Yeah, no, it's just going to be interesting. But Trump can end it because it's just a money laundering scheme. Is all this entire war is. Rob can back me on this. I've been against it since day one. It says something's fishy here. It's not. This is not cool. This is unnecessary. And sure, Schnitzel, I was right.
Yeah, you want to talk about America being what America really is? Because again, what we were told in school is propaganda. America's great. America's awesome. Our government's awesome. And if you think about how we look at history, we only really look at it through a political lens. Who was the president when? What the president decided to do? What Congress passed as a law? We don't talk about the yous and the me's that actually changed the world. We don't talk about Thomas Edison and what he went through to create electricity, or Tesla and how he reformed Edison's electrical invention and made it better, and it's still used today, because those are the real difference makers. Presidents don't invent things that make our lives better. Sure, president can once in a while put a policy in place, like a tax policy that makes it easier for your small business to grow. No doubt about that. But there are other lenses in which we can look at America through. And if you took the politics out of it, to your point, Mike, that you brought up many, many minutes ago, and you brought up many times, we the people usually win. Usually we the people figure it out before the politics figures it out. Like, for example, the civil rights movement started in the 50s. The people figured that out way before the politicians did. The politicians were afraid.
Yeah.
White politicians were afraid to talk to black people like Dr. King. But the people had already moved and already decided that we're going to make changes. Maybe not in Mississippi and Alabama necessarily, but Much of the
Right.
country.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wrong, and we should do something about it.
Here's the deal. I'll say this. America's getting exposed. So to Jan's point here, Jan says, I'm an old woman and growing up was great. Okay, cool. I get that. America was. Here's the deal. I think America's always been pretty screwed up. We're the young kids. We're the young kids in this world. We're like, okay, we're gonna go do this right. It's like the headstrong 18-year-old that's gonna go do things different than his parents did. So we're gonna go do it. Come to find out, we didn't do it really much differently than what we took off from that we fought a war for. We're not doing it very differently. If you think, oh, but we don't have a monarchy. Have you ever seen a presidential motorcade? Yeah, we do. So understand this. Please understand this. And I'm being very, very straight with you here. America's always been the way we see American government now. It's always been that way. Okay. We just now have a clear view of it because we have access to information. We have access to 24 news. Like we actually have the sunlight that is being shown on these corrupt idiots. And we get to see this. It's been that way. Now we're just seeing it. America's greatness is we the people. Americans are the greatest nation in the world. Americans are the greatest people. We just are. We're just built differently here. And we're built differently because of the founding fathers. Everything out there in DC since then has been a bunch of bozos.
Well, and that's because the government is filled with fearful men, mostly, and fearful women who enact fearful policies, who talk about what you should be afraid of. My life, when I think about it, as compared to every other human ever in all human history, has been relatively easy. Yeah. I didn't have to live in a cave. I didn't have to build my own house. I didn't have to hunt and forage for food, although I do enjoy that as a pastime and as a way to eat more organically than I can get in the supermarket. But I didn't have to do any of that. In fact, one of the things I love most about my workout program, I'm using my male body in a way that I've never used my body, to lift things, to use it for what it's designed to do. And I think that's really fun because I'm free to live the life that I want regardless of the government. Government sucks. As Mike's point, it's always sucked. So my job is to live the best life that I can, regardless of the idiots that run the show. Because
that's American.
Yes, that's it. And that's the ultimate win. So if we go back to the very beginning and we're outraged about the opening ceremonies, if we're outraged about Kamala Harris not having a primary vote, if we're outraged about Donald Trump being the Republican nominee, whatever your outrage is, how does it impact the way that you're living your life? Because you're in charge of only that. And that's that freedom and that spirit that Mike was talking about. And I want to bring up something just as a quick pivot that Rhonda writes here. That's Rhonda, wrong quote there. I wanted to bring up your this one here. That's a good point, right? That's two. That is annoying, but let's go to this one too. And just want to mention this real quick. This to me, Mike, is politicking. Because number one, to do it in a constitutional amendment is very challenging to do.
Very.
So it's just giving liberals and Democrats reasons to go to the polls because they don't like the 6-3 majority that conservatives have. So they want to hear something that Biden and or Harris is going to do to quote unquote change it. It's just not that easy to do. You could do it in the Senate or in the House, but that's also difficult because, you have to have overwhelming support. And it's not something that is going to happen easily.
It's so funny that the Democrats are telling the Biden administration tells us we're saving democracy in Ukraine, which is it's a dictatorship. It's not a democracy, and we can't have Trump as the president because he's going to ruin democracy. Well, we're over here ruining democracy in our own primary.
No, it's for your own good, Michael.
Yeah,
we know better than you.
Thing.
It is for your own good.
We follow the system of the Supreme Court. We follow the system of the Supreme Court. We don't like it, so we're just going to go ahead and change it because that's the only way they can win. Is the only way the Democrats can win right now because of Americans, because of we the people. The only way these bozos can keep doing what they're doing is by these kind of shenanigans.
Well, and FDR tried it too, right? FDR got a bunch of Supreme Court decisions he didn't like, so he started to float this idea because it worked for him. Politicians always want to benefit themselves. Every single one of them, they try to promote themselves because it's the nature of the business. And I think that if you start with that point, regardless of which party you like more, understand politicians are, at least in some regard, are in it for themselves. And that's okay, because they're living their lives the way that they want to live their lives, just like you can live your life the way that you want to live your life most of the time. You know?
Yeah. And back to Ronda's point, I mean, that's why, remember the whole, gay marriage, we should be able to marry who we love and this, that, and the other thing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. The reason why Americans couldn't is because we gave the authority to who can marry who to the government. Period. We made marriage, and you put so many other examples. I'm just using marriage as the example here. Why do we have to ask the government for permission to marry somebody? What in the hell is that? That's not exactly what that goes back to what I was saying. Like, America in that regard is pretty damn screwed up. That's basically going back to where we fought the war to escape from, right? But Americans, again, are the difference. Americans are built differently. And that is we the people. And that is the greatest nation of Americans.
No doubt. It's the reason we went west. It's the reason we rebelled against England. It's the reason people start businesses, build skyscrapers, because we can. Because the prosperity that these great thinkers and innovators and inventors, they have given us the tools that we can do whatever we want in our lives, that nothing is impossible. I love to watch those History Channel shows, like The Food That Built America, The Machines That Built America, The Titans That Built America, and the decisions that these guys and women, in some cases, make, gambling it all on their idea. And the idea doesn't work the first time, and they refine it, and it works the second time, and then it makes eating easier. They're talking about Ivory Soap, is one I just watched recently. And
soap.
Nobody was bathing back then because you didn't think about it. It wasn't part of normal life. So they invent this soap almost by accident. They discover, okay, cool, it works. Now what do we do? Well, by accident, they left whatever makes the soap on, and that's how they found the float, how the Ivory Soap floated, and that's what they built their marketing campaign on. And Ivory Soap was the first nationally advertised product, and hugely innovative because people were dying of dysentery, dying of diseases that were easily avoidable if you just washed your hands or washed your armpits or whatever. Yeah. So because of that innovation, it brought the entire American society and later the world to a much cleaner, hygienic place so that we could live longer and contribute more.
You want to hear something weird about me? I love Ivory Soap because it dries my skin out. I love it. I also love hotel towels that are just like, it's like sandpaper. Oh, the rougher the towel, the better for me. Because I just it's almost like exfoliating. I'm drying my face. I love it. Absolutely love it. Love me some Ivory Soap.
Ivory Soap. It's like 100-something years old now, still out there doing its thing.
And Jan, we're not still on the radio. No, we're doing this. This is our platform where we can say whatever the hell we want to say, and we can say it how we want to say it. We can say it when we want to say it. We can travel and do this show. We can do whatever we want to do.
Said shit. Oh my goodness.
I was reading a quote, Robert. I was reading a quote.
Shit.
And if you think I wasn't, that's bullshit.
So, Jan, we do, if you know some old Russell and Hunter listeners, maybe you chatted with them on Facebook here or there, invite them in. Yeah, because even Sterling's point earlier, some people don't know. They just, because the radio station isn't going to tell her, oh, by the way, you guys should go listen to Russell and Hunter on Facebook.
Go over there.
They're not going to say that. It was crazy, too, because I left and I had a whole plan that I was going to be able to say goodbye, that it was time for me to do something else and kind of do this on our own. And they didn't even, nope, they were like, nope, that was it. You're done. We're not even letting Mike say anything. They made Mike say that I was on extended vacation for like a month.
Dude, it was a month of doing the show. And I'm like, why can't I say what the hell's going on?
Let's just be honest with the people that hang out with us in the afternoon.
Yeah. Then I was just walked out like a common criminal.
Been there before too.
And they kept my fan. I'm still bitter about that, dude. I'm bitter about that.
That's we want to talk about bullshit. That's some bullshit.
I almost went and filled in for one of the Sunday guys. I was going to go in the studio and get my fan back. So if you ever watch, you may hear a little like in the background of one of those shows. That's my fan.
Damn right. Still contributing.
Had a remote and everything. Thing was fantastic. Had a timer on it. I don't know why a fan would have a timer, but it had a timer on it.
It was actually very useful because when you were not there, I would forget to turn it off. So I would put on the 4-hour setting from 2 to like 6, and I could put it on for an hour. The last hour of the show, I'm good to go. Worked out
Okay,
well.
so and by the way, where do we get our money? Well, at the end of every show, like right now, we pass the collection plate.
Mhm.
So go. I kid. No, this is something we're building, and that's why we said invite people in, because the more we build this, the more the social platforms say, "Hey, we kind of like what these guys got going on. Here's a little cheddar." Advertisers, here's a little cheddar, things like that. So that's how we are getting paid. So that's how that works. So the more you invite in, we can grow this and grow this and grow this and grow this, and then people are whatever.
And offer you
That whole statement just ran out of gas at the end. I don't know where it went, but that's the ABCs of me.
Well, and I think that the goal here is to push the conversation outside of the propaganda channels that currently occupy the media, because they basically all say the same thing. Either Kamala's the greatest or Trump's the greatest. Neither one of them's the greatest. They're just people like you and me. They're not going to solve all your problems, either one of them. So let's get beyond this hero worship of politicians, and let's have some real discussions about what's happening.
We'll solve all your problems. Just keep tuning in at noon,
Monday
through Friday. That's when we're on noon. So just answering a little bit. Yes, yes. I'm glad you found Skin Sterling, and yes. So let everybody know exactly where we are. We still do terrible impressions. We still are the tightest of friends, and he's my little brother from another. And so we're still hanging out and doing this every day, hanging out with you guys. So we appreciate that. We have gone a little bit over time, but let's make it happen every single Monday through Friday at noon, right here on Russell and Hunter's the Brewmaster. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow at noon.